or stories of them that few may know. Tales of witches, ghosts, and UFOs on Parascope Uncensored. Hosted by paranormal investigator and author Robison Brian Frates.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Parascope Uncensored here on the Hazy Radio Network. I'm your host, Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun tonight, you know him as my twin brother, Mr. Doug Engler.
Hello, hello, hello.
How you doing, Doug?
Oh, I'm doing smurfy. How are you?
Today is day number 14 without a cigarette, and I haven't killed anybody yet.
And that's always a plus.
Yes, it is. I think so. I just got messaged on Facebook by Brian. No, I was picking on Brian off air and didn't realize that we were broadcasting because Brian's been making a lot of posts on Facebook. I'm like, I'm going to call him out on this. And I just got a message from him on Facebook going, what was that about? Something idiotic on Facebook? Whoops. I guess I can't call him out on that now. Because he knows it's coming.
Yeah. Oopsie.
Whoops. Darn. There goes the surprise.
Yeah.
We love having Brian on the show. Let's see. And one of our roundtable guests is not going to be able to make it. Okay. That's good to know. So, big news in the world, really. Not necessarily the paranormal world, but in the world. And, Doug, I don't know if you've actually heard about this or not. Did you hear about the Supreme Court ruling this morning?
That gay marriage is legal in the United States?
Yes.
All 50 states?
Yes.
Yes, I did hear about that.
Yes. Yes.
That is awesome. And I am very happy to hear that. You know, yeah. Although one thing that it's great that they have declared that it's legal for gay and lesbian couples to legally be married in all 50 states now. It's now a federal law. There is an issue that has crept up, and I don't want to be political or stuff like that because I hate politics. That stuff is just ridiculous to me. But the whole Confederate flag stuff, you know, it's a part of, I think people are taking it a bit too far. I mean, people say, well, you look, it stands for X, Y, and Z, when for a while, X, Y, and Z also falls under, you know, our current American flag as well. So you gotta weigh both sides of the argument before you can make a conscious decision. Don't just go off of your bias. And that's just my opinion on that.
Well, and here's the thing, folks. You know, flags don't kill people. You know, guns don't kill people. People kill people. You know, the whole thing, you know, with the shooting in the church and everything, the guy could have been flying a flag that had, you know, a pink unicorn on it. Now, are we all of a sudden going to start banning pink unicorns?
Yes. Ban My Little Ponies.
But, you know, our society has come to a point where it has become appropriate to be mean to our fellow man. For some reason, in our society, and it doesn't matter what country we live in, we could live in the United States, we could live in Zimbabwe. It has become socially appropriate to be mean to other people. Children are mean to children. Coworkers are mean to coworkers. Bosses to subordinates. Husbands to wives. Wives to husbands. It has become appropriate to be mean to people. You drive down the road, someone doesn't like the way you're driving, you get a single finger salute. Is that nice? Absolutely not. So we need to try to find a way to go back to where it is no longer appropriate or expected to be mean to other people. And that's my soapbox. I'm done.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And I put some of the blame, not all of the blame, but some of the blame I put on social media, because you turn on the news, it's negativity. You look at video games. The most popular games right now involve war, theft, breaking the law, harming others. So a lot of people that's just fed into you. It's just fed into you that this is okay, this is acceptable. Good things, well, that's weird. Something good happens, yay, but I want to see the negativity. I mean, we all fall victim to this. You can't drive by an accident scene without looking to see what the damage was and if somebody was hurt.
Right.
And those of us who do go, and only a select few of those of us who drive by that go, I pray for that family that nobody was seriously injured and that things are going to be okay. Very small percentile. Most people drive by that go, dude, that car is destroyed.
Right.
And we're living in a day and age where society, the human race in general, thrive off of negativity. And really, it needs to stop. You look at social media with Facebook and Twitter, and it's filled with this, I hate this stuff, I hate that stuff, this person was mean, this person looks like this, or, it's just so much hearsay and so much negativity. I for a little bit, I'm happy I haven't been glued to social media with no internet because of the fact that I've avoided a lot of that negativity. Mm-hmm. Yes, I've had some negativity in the past week and a half between car and personal things that have gone on, but letting the negativity from outside sources is helping me to stay positive through it all and helping me to, rise above the crap level.
Yeah. Yep, it is sad what the world has come to. And I am, I'm looking forward to, the next month where I completely and totally unplug. Tonight is going to be the last Parascope Uncensored for a month. We're taking the month of July off, and I will be unplugging. I will not be taking part in social media. I will not be taking part in radio. I probably won't even watch much television. And, as Doug mentioned, there have been some things, that have been going on with the family, and we're all taking some time off next month, to unplug and refocus and regenerate and recharge, I guess, and put things back into perspective. And we're going to come back with some
kick butt guests.
Yeah, Enlightened Circle is already booking for August.
And I know that I've given you a couple ideas, and I got to talk to guest who we had to cancel on for AZR last week to see if she's available for August. And
yeah, you need to see if she can come on in August, and we'll talk about that when we're off the air.
Yeah. But we want to remind everybody that Parascope Uncensored is brought to you tonight by SENIPER, the Southeastern New England Paranormal Investigative Research Team. If you have things to go bump in the night, any paranormal activity, or you have questions about what we do, feel free to check us out at www.senepir.com and send Brian a message. sure he'd love to hear from you, answer any questions you have, and he'll get back to you as quick as he can.
We're also brought to you by The Biker and the Witch. For cool clothing and more for cool people, visit their website, bikerandwitch.com today. Yay! And speaking of The Biker and the Witch, I will be there all week next week. So anybody in the downtown Glenwood Springs, Colorado area that, wants to swing by and say howdy, I will be at The Biker and the Witch, 918 Grand Avenue in Glenwood Springs, all week next week. So, are you ready for your dose of funny, Doug?
Yes, I can always use a dose of funny.
Okay, here is your dose of funny. Now, Brian, pay attention, because I know that Brian's going to want to hear this one too. Lost on a rainy night, a rabbi stumbles into a monastery. "Welcome, Rabbi, you're just in time for dinner," says the head reverend. "Thank you so much, but I can't eat meat that isn't kosher." We have excellent fish and chips," says the priest. "Oh, wonderful," says the rabbi. They sit down and they eat. "Say, these are the best fish and chips I've ever tasted. May I thank the chef?" "Certainly. Brother Michael and Brother Francis, please come in." "I'm very pleased to meet you, gentlemen. I just wanted to thank you for the finest fish and chips I've ever had. Just out of curiosity, who cooked what?" Brother Michael replied, "Well, I'm the fish fryer." And the rabbi turns to the other brother and says, "Then you must be..." "Yes, I'm afraid I'm the chipmunk."
Wow. Wow. Oh, Lord.
I thought you would find that appropriate.
That's clever. Very clever.
So,
You even had Lily's attention.
Oh, really? I had Lily's attention.
Yeah, she jumped, as you were telling the joke, she jumped up on my lap so she could hear it better.
Oh, that's so sweet. So sweet. But we've got a great show. Yeah, we've got a great show lined up for you tonight, folks. We're going to have Ben Robison and Brian Frates on. We were supposed to have Blaine Rohan with us, but he was not able to join us. Just found out a couple minutes ago. But Ben Robison and Brian Frates are going to be joining us. We're going to have a roundtable discussion. And if you've got questions for our roundtable discussion, you can give us a call at 970-989-9276, or you can post them in the HeyZRadio.com chat room. That's HeyZRadio.com. Just click on the great big pink chat button on the homepage of the website. That'll take you straight to our chat room. It'll give you a funky nickname like Wookum Dumpling or Loveykins or something like that. You can change that. And post your question in there. We'll do our very best to get the question on the air. And we're really looking forward to this. You know, we asked some of our most intelligent and favorite past guests to be part of this roundtable discussion. You know, so things could get a little heated tonight. I just don't know. I kind of hope they get heated, and then again, I hope they kind of stay mellow. But, you know, with people as passionate about the paranormal as Ben and Brian are, you just don't know what's going to happen. And then you throw Doug and I into that mix, and the gloves could come off. I don't know. You know, I've gone 14 days without a cigarette. I'm feeling kind of scrappy.
I had linguiça for lunch, so I'm feeling kind of gassy. So this could be a blast.
When aren't you feeling gassy, Doug?
You know me, I've always got to throw a little comedy in there.
Oh, I know. And your jokes are a real gas.
Oh, yeah.
Just don't stand downwind of him. Didn't Brian announce on social media that's your nickname, Downwind?
I don't remember. I don't know if Brian came up with it or if Joe did.
One of the two. I think it was Brian that posted it on Facebook. Called you Doug Downwind Angler.
It's possible.
Now I don't know about the rest of the world, but I always try to stay upwind to you.
Except when we pick you up from the airport.
Except when you pick me up from the airport, and then I have to, open the door and vomit because you bombed the car.
That only happened once.
Yeah, there's a reason that's only happened once. And I just got a message from Joe saying that it was Brian that gave you the nickname Downwind.
Okay.
Yes.
And like we said, Parascope is going to be taking the month of July off for personal reasons, refresh, regroup. Every now and then you need a little vacation from doing this. We love doing the show, but every now and then you need a little time to clear your head, regroup, and come back. So you can come back better and more focused, and so we can continue to bring you the quality shows that we've been bringing you.
Well, and when we come back, we will be celebrating our 2nd anniversary on this network.
Woohoo!
I know. Can you believe we've been on Hazy for 2 years in August?
Wow.
I know. It doesn't seem like it.
It doesn't. We were a part of a different network before we found our home here, and we don't speak much about the other network. I do appreciate the friendships that I made and the experiences that I was lucky enough to have being a part of the other network, which has led me to having the courage and the experience to come over to Hazy and do the shows that I've been a part of. And I don't want to ever forget where I came from, because that's part of who's made me what I am today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and of course, we have to announce that last week we didn't have a show because I was accepting a Locals Choice Award for Best Local Radio Personality. So it was an honor to be nominated, and I still can't believe I won.
Gold?
No, I won silver.
Silver?
I won silver, yeah.
So there was one other radio personality that was more popular than you.
Yeah, and it was a terrestrial morning radio host. I mean, I didn't think I stood a chance going against all of these terrestrial radio stations and everything, but I did, and I won silver. So
that's just awesome.
Yeah, and you can see that award on the on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Parascope Uncensored. And the awards ceremony was last Friday, and so I was there getting my award along with the Biker and the Witch. They won 3 awards. They won gold for most unique retail store. They won silver for best boutique, and they won bronze for best gift shop.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then Kristen's husband, Donnie, took home the gold for most unique local resident.
So, that's just a good night all around.
Yeah. Yeah. And another really close friend of ours, Officer Angela Harrington with the Silt Police Department, she took home the bronze for best local police officer. So, yeah, there was a whole group of us, this out of my friends, we were taking home awards, and it was really cool. So, like I said, to even be nominated was awesome. But to actually win and beat out all of these terrestrial radio shows and all of the other internet show hosts and everything, oh my gosh. I'm flabbergasted. I'm shocked. Still, it's been a week and I'm shocked because I actually won.
That is just amazing to hear, and I'm so happy for you and Kristen and Donnie and Biker and Witch and everybody. So congratulations to you guys and everybody who won.
Yes.
I don't know if they have awards like that. I think they did. I think Warham had awards, for best restaurants and stuff like that. And I was never. I don't think anybody even knew I did radio when some of that stuff was going on. So.
Yeah, they have best local restaurant, best hamburger joint, best auto body place, best mechanic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there were, I think, 100 different categories. And so it was really cool though. Like I said, I'm still in shock. I can't believe I won. And I won gold at that. Or I'm sorry, I won silver at that.
Yeah, when you're only beaten out by one person.
Yeah. And when I found out the day before that I had won, I thought for sure that I got bronze or something. That I got the bottom of the barrel. But nope. I took home silver.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
I have positive thoughts going forward. The company I work for is doing, to celebrate their 60th anniversary of being in business, they are doing 60 prizes in 60 days for the months of July and August. And so every day they're going to draw one winner, and you can only win once. Some of the prizes include things like a $500 American Express card.
Now, are these for the employees or?
What was that?
Are these for the employees or the customers?
For the employees.
Oh, wow!
As a way of saying thank you to the employees for their, hard work and everything. A Goodyear blimp ride for 2.
Oh, wow!
Boston to Bermuda cruise. So some of these prizes are really good, and being up here in the Northeast, not that many people would jump at it. There's a Pedroia meet and greet with Red Sox game for 2 that I don't know how many people are going to want to go to the Red Sox because they're horrible. There's some Boston sports packs.
Yeah.
But, 46-inch smart TV, and so a lot of cool prizes. So fingers crossed that I win something.
Well, let's hope you do.
Powerball season ticket, that'd be kind of neat too. That's one that they're giving away in August.
Ooh.
That one actually they're giving away first August 2nd, which I believe would be the first AZR.
Ah, okay.
That would be neat.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. So, what do you say we go to commercial?
Sounds like a good idea.
All right. So, when we come back, we're going to have Ben Robison and Brian Frates on. So, stay tuned. You're listening to Parascope Uncensored on the Hey Z Radio Network. We will be right back.
Stay tuned. More Parascope Uncensored after this. Back to Parascope Uncensored on the Hey Z Radio Network.
30 minutes past the hour here on Parascope Uncensored on the Hey Z Radio Network. I'm your host, Clarissa Vasquez, riding shotgun tonight. You know him as my twin brother, the man, the myth, the legend, the master of gas, Mr. Doug Engler.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, we have got an awesome treat for you guys tonight. We have got East Coast versus West Coast in the paranormal realm. We have got Mr. Brian Frates from Spreaker, and we've got Mr. Ben Robison from the... Okay, Ben, you got to help me out with the acronym.
Okay. So it's Autonomous Studies of the Enigmatic and Paranormal, or ASEP, if you want to make it short and sweet.
Yes. We've got Ben from ASEP and Brian from Spreaker. So, please join us in welcoming both gentlemen to the show.
Yay!
Yay! So, we'll start with Brian real quick. We'll start with the East Coast. Brian, give us a real quick, brief explanation of who you are and what you do.
Real quick. You know my long-windedness well.
Yes, that's why I said keep it short. Do I need a turkey timer?
No.
Okay.
I'm out here in Mass and founded the team back in '03. We've been investigating ever since. The full name is Southeastern New England Paranormal Investigative Research, which, as with Ben, it's a mouthful, so we go with the acronym of Spreaker.
Okay. And Ben, same question.
Well, I founded a group called the Autonomous Studies of the Enigmatic and Paranormal, as I mentioned earlier. And the area we kind of cover is essentially the greater Pacific Northwest area. We're based kind of in the Portland, Oregon area. And, yeah, that's essentially it.
Very cool. Now, both of you have been doing this for at least 10 years. Is that right?
For me, I've been off and on, formally, informally doing it since I was a child. So that'd probably be only like 7 years at this point. No, I'm
right.
kidding. I've been doing it since then. I'm damn near 40 now. So.
Okay. And Brian mentioned that Spreaker was founded in '03. So that's 12 years. So
yeah, he's been doing it formally longer than me.
Okay.
Brian's my senior. I'm not trying to say you're old either, Brian.
No. I'll be the fountain of youth over here.
All right.
I think Brian is the puppy, though. Am I right, Doug? Is Brian younger than us?
I think he is, yes.
I think so. I think Brian is officially the puppy of this group, so... Because Doug and I are officially pushing 40 ourselves now. I won't say how close to 40 we are, but we're closer than we were a couple months ago. And
you can count that on one hand now.
Yeah, well, we could have counted on one hand last year, but
yeah.
And Brian is definitely younger than us. Okay, so all ages aside. I can hear Brian laughing.
That's because I had to actually check the date to remember exactly how old I was. Still south of 35.
You're south of 35? Okay. Yeah, and Doug and I are pretty far north of it. So, okay, ages aside. I guess, Ben, we'll start with you this time. And I would like to know, what is it that keeps the fire lit under you? What is it that, after all of these years of formal and informal investigation, what is it that drives you to keep doing this?
I love that question. And actually, I think you might be the very first that's asked me that. For me, it's a passion, right? There's hobbies out there. There are, like fishing. Mm-hmm. I fish half-ass. I'm a fair weather fisherman because I don't like being out in the rain and cold. One of my brothers would denounce me as a result of so, but that's just how it is. Because for me, it's a hobby. For him, it's a passion. Uh-huh. For me, paranormal research is a passion. So I very much live, breathe, and eat it. Now, there can be a lot of stagnation or a lot of just things repeated in nausea. That's, or just the drama even. I mean, that alone discourages people. So for me, I have to look within myself and say, well, why am I doing this? Why am I here? Why am I part of this whole field of research? What are my goals? My goals aren't really to like become famous, to become rich, because I'm pretty sure those are not in the cards, without selling a bit of your dignity or your integrity. Now, for me, it's a matter of just constantly helping people, seeing that or hearing that, they're doing better as a result of all of the efforts we put in to a case. That is the fire right there that just, burns constantly and is restoked, as time goes on.
Awesome. Brian, same question.
It all boils down for me. I mean, yes, the research is fun, the getting the answers and learning new things is all well and good and definitely a driving force, but the biggest thing it all boils down to is helping people. Be it the clients, be it colleagues that want to work together and learn and get better for the client. It's all about that look of relief that a client gets, even just from understanding, just from realizing that someone else believes them and understands. And then to be able to take it full circle, complete an investigation, have results and answers for them, and to see them start to understand, be it natural causes or how to cope and deal with the spirit, or if it's a residual, just the fact that it's really nothing can be done, it's just kind of there and it's not going to interact or harm. It's those looks that we get and the relief that you can, it's palpable. The air lightens when the clients and the colleagues realize what's going on and learning something new.
Excellent. Doug?
For me, I would have to say that it comes down, like Ben and Brian both said, helping people. I mean, there's a true love for doing the investigation. There's a fun of going out and, going to a location that's got historical value, or even a private residence where you're trying to help a family or a person feel comfortable in their own home. And whether you come away with phenomenal evidence or you spent 6 hours at a location and nothing happened, if you can make that person feel the least bit more calm in their own home, make them feel a little bit safer in their own home, then you've done your job, in my opinion. And that's one of the reasons that drives me to do this.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and answer my own question here. For me, yes, helping people is the icing on the cake, but for me, it's about the research. That's what keeps me going. I want to know answers. I want to know definitively what is out there and what happens after the physical body dies. And so by conducting the research and investigating my butt off, and helping people in the process, I think, myself and others like Doug and Ben and Brian, we're taking those baby steps toward finding those answers. And that having that goal and that objective, that is what keeps me going. This last year, I was faced with the difficult decision, do I start over with a brand new team of investigators that I have to train and, get them built up to par again? Or do I just let my organization go and continue my research on my own without doing public or private investigations? And I came to the conclusion that it would be very, very difficult for me to conduct that research, on my own, without at least one other person helping me. And then you add that icing on the proverbial cake of being able to help people, and that was what made the decision for me to go ahead and take on an entirely brand new team, because as most of our listeners know, my team all moved away last winter. And so I had to start over from scratch. And so I've got 6 brand new investigators under me, and we're spending the summer training. And I love the people. I've got a really awesome team. They're all hungry and eager, and some of them are already very knowledgeable, which helps me out a lot. And so for me, that's really what keeps me going after almost 20 years of doing this, is, the research and the goal of, the glimmer of hope that sometime in my lifetime, because as you know, Doug and I are on the backside of 30, that we might find those answers. So
I found myself, fairly in the same scenario a couple of years ago. I had founded in 2008 the Paranormal and Occult Research Team, and anybody that's ran a team, which I think all of us are qualified in this department, I learned that there's just a lot of pain in the ass, and there's a lot of struggle and hand-holding. It really brings out the true manager in you, if you're capable of doing so. And I had a lot of great people, but I also had a ton more flaky people. Mm-hmm. And that really became disheartening for me. So in June, just a series of things that had taken place, June of 2013, I decided to step down from port, and I created ASAP. And that's why the name was Autonomous Studies, so on and so forth, mm-hmm. is because it became, a singular almost thing, something that operated by itself. And that was what I really kind of wanted to embrace. I felt like for me, though, and everybody's different, that it gave me an opportunity to really focus more on my research. And I'm not bad-mouthing the people that I left when I stepped down from port, but I was so used to doing all the heavy lifting and at the same time so tired of doing it that I figured if I'm going to do it all, I might as well shed the whole management end and having to take care of these folks, or, keep them engaged and, committed to our clients, that, I decided I'll just do it on my own. But about a year ago, I brought on my fiance, Nicole. And so it's like you said, having at least one other person there to help with the research and things like that, the heavy lifting that you can rely on is really nice. And so having Nicole do that has been pretty huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the research is what drives me. Helping people is the icing on the cake. And yeah,
I get that. I mean, I think for everybody it's a little different, mm-hmm. and whatever keeps you motivated and what really, turns you on as far as the fire itself, that symbolic end of it.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next question is, and I know Ben and Brian and Doug are all going to laugh about this, because it's one of my favorite topics to talk about, and it's also one of my favorite topics to avoid. Brian, what is your take on orbs? I hear him laughing.
Way too much stock is put into them, but at the same time, way too much discounting is done. Okay. And I say that because before people, I know your standpoint on it, and before you light me up, or other people just turn me off, let me just say that natural free-floating energy is a known phenomenon. There is EMF leakage everywhere, particularly everybody always goes back to the old Romex wiring and fear cages. Ball lightning is for all intents and purposes, an orb. And it gets written off swamp gas. That shows as it's spherical. It's a spherical swarm of energy.
Mm-hmm.
If that's caught, yes, 99% of what people get in pictures, what people get in 99% of pictures that they call an orb is dust or moisture. I exclude bugs because bugs always have a telltale. You will always see a deformation of the symmetry caused by either a wing, an antenna, the shape of the body, or a leg. You'll always have a telltale with a bug, so-called orb. So I streamline them out to either being dust or moisture. But then there's those ones that you just can't tell. But the only way that my team, and Doug can back me up on this because he's been part of some of the arguments, when we want to call something an orb, for lack of any other better term, the only way we do that is we have some other correlating piece of evidence that happened at the same time. Be it an EVP, an EMF meter going off, something that tracked some energy or some other piece of evidence happening at the same time. Then we might say that, yes, this could be an orb. But even then, even if it is a true orb, there's no way to know if it's a spirit unless you get something with a voice saying, "Oh, hi, this is me, Jim." So even when it's a legitimate one, which is 1% of the time, it's really just energy floating through the air that you happen to catch.
Okay. Ben, same question.
I think I align a lot with what Brian's saying. In many ways, I'm the poo-pooer of orbs. However, it would be a disservice to this field to ever say an absolute. When you hear people do absolutes and they say, this can't be, and that can't be, we haven't proven any other way. So how the hell are you going to come up with that, right?
Right.
So, it's a matter of literally just studying and constantly cataloging and trying to maybe even do your own recreations. And I'll give you an example. I reached out to a very famous paranormal researcher who was hot in her time on a paranormal reality show. And it just so happened our paths had crossed because my team had worked with that show for a location. So I was just bouncing stuff off of her, and I was showing her some video of what we had believed to be, orbs, potentially energy, orbs, spirit orbs, whatever. And so she kind of poo-pooed it, and I'm not saying in a negative way, just kind of was like, yeah, that's this or that, the normal explanation. But see, that to me was a very quick, she's looking at it on my laptop, in a lit room, we're not really like analyzing it like you normally would. And I'm not saying that was like her cup of tea either. I'm just saying that, when she went over it and just kind of quickly glanced at it, she shot out a kind of your default, bugs, dust, whatever. So I was like, all right, fair enough, whatever. I decided to take it to the next step, and I went down to a body of water on a hot summer day, and I took a spotlight, I took a halogen light and ran it off an inverter, and I took a huge white sheet and tied it to tree branches on each side of this road, and put the spotlight and the halogen light on that white sheet. And before you know it, within a half hour, 15 minutes or whatever, this thing is just chocked full of all sorts of bugs. So I had a camcorder set up with infrared, right, and in night vision mode. And I killed the lights and turned that camera on and ran it for 15 minutes. So you got who knows how many kinds of bugs attached to this blanket. And sooner or later, they start flying off and going, doing whatever they do, naturally. it gave us a great opportunity to study all sorts of different flight patterns, different types of bugs, body sizes, you name it. Not a single one of those in that particular scenario looked the same as what was showing up in this video. And what we were seeing in the video was something that showed up in frame, right? Again, we're talking one dimension, so it's not like I had a 3-dimensional camera. So I don't have that luxury of saying how far away this anomaly was from my lens.
Right.
However, what I can tell you is it would show up in frame and start illuminating itself in a certain way. Now, it wasn't doing the telltale blinking like something tumbling that has a reflective side and then doesn't have a reflective side. It wasn't doing the fluttering thing that is also telltale of, a bug and its wings interrupting the reflection and, all that jazz. Mm-hmm. It was doing something so much different, almost like it was generating its own light source, own energy and power. Then the other thing that I've kind of coined was for the best way to try to explain its behavior was I called it the George Jetson flight pattern. It was defying, and if, any of one of us have stared at those cameras for hours on end to, just, it's insane. You watch dust go at all, directions. And it almost like there's no rules to it. However, with this one thing, it seemed like it was moving about and flying around in its own pattern with almost like an agenda, like it had an intention, a place it was trying to head and do. It wasn't being influenced by whatever draft, wind, there was going on, movement in the room. It was doing its own thing. So that were the main criteria that sold me on the potential of something outside of being an explainable, explanation for orbs.
Right.
So I think I just think that's where we have to go with it. Like, we can't discount it. We have to do our job. I get that we're just pounded to death with these damn things because everybody and their mom thinks because something's spooking them out and they turn the camera on, and mind you, they're using a light source like infrared, full spectrum, or just your standard, light camera. Yeah. It's going to illuminate it. It's going to exacerbate this, and therefore you're going to see dust and lint and hair and skin and bugs, you name it.
Absolutely. Brian, you were saying?
Yeah, if I may. Ben's example of what the other investigator said to him, that's exactly what I was getting at with, and I forgot to circle back too, about people just discounting it too quickly. We gotta at least pay attention to them because we could be robbing ourselves of a chance to find that one needle in a haystack piece of evidence that leads us closer to proving what we're trying to prove. Lost my train for a second. But that due diligence, like the experiment you did, was amazing. And when we get sent photos, I handle all the email for the team. When we get sent photos either through Facebook or through our email, I always ask for the photo before and after. Something to compare it to. What am I really looking at?
That's you even trying to do your best too, right, Brian? Because, I mean, when you're asking for that before and after, that's the best you can do in that scenario when somebody brings it to you. It's still not ideal, but, like, you're doing what you can with what they're providing you, and that's very little too.
Bingo, because having not been there physically, and we get one photo, there's really not much we can tell from just one picture. We need to at least set the scene with the before and the after, see what was going on right before, what was going on right after, how soon were the photos taken in relation to each other. We need that comparative data, and that's where a lot of people say it's not a science. Well, we make it scientific by getting as much of the data as we can and just hammering through it.
Absolutely.
Nothing beats video, but when you got to go with photo, you need the comparisons at the same time.
Absolutely. Guys, we've got to take our top of the hour break, but when we come back, we're going to have more with Ben and Brian, so stay tuned. You're listening to Parascope Uncensored on the Hazy Radio Network. We will be right back.
Stay tuned. More Parascope Uncensored after this. And now, back to Parascope Uncensored on the Hazy Radio Network.
6 minutes past the hour here on Parascope Uncensored on the Hazy Radio Network. I'm your host, Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun tonight is the man, the myth, the legend. You know him as my twin brother. He got the tall jeans, and I got the good-looking jeans. Mr. Doug Engler.
Good evening, everyone.
So we are having a great time talking to Ben and Brian. East Coast meets West Coast here on Parascope Uncensored tonight, and having a little round table conversation going on. We've been talking about orbs. We've been talking about the fuel that fires our investigative needs and keeps us going in this field of research. And, Doug, we didn't get to you as far as your take on orbs. Do you want to answer that one real quick?
I think both Ben and Brian summed up my thoughts on it. I have very similar thoughts. I mean, you can't discount them, but I fall into the same category of people who I don't look at the pictures of orbs as evidence most of the time, especially if they can't provide me with detailed information about when the picture was taken, because everybody, we all have coworkers or friends who are like, I went to this place, I took a picture, and look at all these orbs in the picture. And 99 times out of 100, you're going to look at the picture and you're going to see a ton of these little round dots that, they're excited about. Oh, I have orbs, but it's dust molecules or water molecules. And I've gone out at night in the rain and snapped random photos so I could see what does raindrops look like in a flash.
Mm-hmm.
What does water molecules look like in a flash? Okay, I'm out in the woods. There's a lot of bugs. What does this look like? So I've taken those, practice shots to say, okay, this is controlled. I know where I was when this was taken. This is what a bug looks like. This is what rain looks like. And, I've gone into a dusty room and sneezed and snapped photos of the dust molecules. And just because I want to know I want to be able to have the knowledge of going, okay, well, I compare what that looks like to this. Obviously, it's not going to be the same because everything's created a little bit differently no matter how similar they are. And
did you sound like a chipmunk when you sneezed?
I did not. That also is what you acquired, was the chipmunks. But
I think that's admirable of you. I would have never thought of that. I'd be like, hold this. I got to sneeze. Let's run in this room and pow, and take that picture. That's a good one. I've never thought of doing that.
Because I try to, I can come at investigating from a scientific method or from a spiritual method. I go off of my gut feelings. I go off of psychic abilities and stuff of that nature, but I can also go at it with the cameras, the meters, the voice recorders, and say, okay, I want evidence of what I feel. And if people are getting pictures of stuff that they feel so strongly on as orbs, I want to try to think in my mind, I need to recreate any possible thought that could have happened going into this. Did they sneeze while they were taking the picture, and now they have the spray of their sneeze, and that's what they recorded? Yeah. Or is it dust, or is it water? Or, there's just so many variables when it comes to trying to debunk a photograph. Brian likes the photos before and after. Sometimes those aren't there. Sometimes those aren't there. Tourists might go out, oh, check this place out, take a photograph. They go to the next location, take a photograph, and one of those photos had something weird that they want to show everybody. But so you want to, not being there, you want to know the full history of everything. You want to know what led up to that photo.
And if I may add real quick too, one of my favorite pieces of literature to pimp out to people all the time is the Orb Project. And I don't know if any of you have ever came across that or read it. Pretty phenomenal book. Very, very, very detailed. Two different guys that knew nothing of each other and then found out about each other's work. and talk about guys that have done similar to what you were just talking about, Doug, just doing anything and everything, taking tens of thousands of photos. And we're not talking just digital photos. We're talking analog and different types of cameras with different type of, apertures and lenses and things like that. These guys have, in my opinion, have taken it to the farthest extent that I've ever heard or seen of by a landslide. So when people start really coming at me and they're just so sold on the idea of orbs, I'm like, okay, well, take a look at this one book, The Orb Project. Read it. I'll even loan it. I've gone through probably 2 copies given out to people and never got back, which is fine. But I want them to educate themselves and see that they're going to see so many pictures in this book and they're going to go, oh, wow. Like, those are like what I've shot. And that I keep telling everybody are ghosts, So.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a very, very good book. Easy to find.
And it's called
Amazon.
The Orb Project.
The Orb Project, yeah.
I may have to check that out.
Yep.
I may have to check that out, because here's my take on orbs. Just like we've all established that, and I will even go so far as to say 99.9% of the orb photos out there are dust, bugs, water vapor, swamp gas, whatever. And so I've created this nifty little acronym for orbs that I call ordinary random bits of stuff. And
I love it.
What I tell my investigators, unless you see it with the naked eye, or unless it casts a shadow, toss it.
Yeah, and I've actually been lucky enough myself to see at least, I want to say, 2 different occasions, see orbs with my own eyes. And I swear to God, I wasn't on any kind of drugs. But, they're like literally rare things. But the problem is, in my scenario, what I saw with my eyes was not captured by film, and there was film trained on the same area I was looking. So there's, again, where, and this may branch off into a different subject that we don't need to tackle, but I think there's a limitation issue with the technology that we use to date. And, I think that that's what happened in those scenarios. Or I'm just some biological issue that took place and is explainable behind it. But there were personal experiences that followed with that, whether it was cold drafts or a whisper in my ear.
Interesting. That's almost like a reverse orb situation.
A little bit, yeah.
Usually it's, the orb shows up in the photo, where you didn't see anything with the naked eye, but in your case, you saw something with the naked eye and it wasn't caught on film.
That's the most frustrating. But I'm seeing a little bit more and more increase in this. And I don't know, Brian, if you've ran into this, or Clarissa and Doug, I don't know if you guys have had the same thing where you're starting to see a bit of an incline in where people are talking about personal experiences, but then they're like, and they're legitimate people that either colleagues, you name it, but they don't have any hard evidence to back it up, whether it's an audio or some kind of fluctuation that was recorded on the device, or video even. Seems like that trend is growing a bit, and that seems to add a little bit of credence to where I'm saying there seems to be a limitation with the technology and its scope of being able to see or hear or document, measure these anomalies.
So
I have noticed that, and I think it's in large part because there are more of us doing it the way we do it to find the truth behind it rather than just to go find a ghost. That I think some of the stigma is coming off and people feeling a little bit more comfortable in actually talking about their experiences.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
But back to what both Clarissa and you were saying about the about seeing things with the naked eye. I don't know if it's just a natural ability or just from doing it for so long, I've actually started being able to tell as I take the picture if there's going to be a false positive. Because if you look just right, if the camera's at a certain angle, when you take that picture and the flash goes off, you'll see the stuff reflecting at you if
Absolutely.
It's close. So I look for that, and Doug's heard me call it out. Even on the last case, I looked over at Laura, and I was like, there's going to be fake orbs in this one. I just saw the sparklies.
Right.
Yeah, that's happened a lot. And I even had one encounter. It was about 11 years ago. It didn't involve orbs, but it involved a fox. And there were 3 of us, and we were setting up at this cemetery. It was the proverbial dark and stormy night. And we're setting up, and this fox got within 10 feet of us, which we thought was really odd for a wild animal of that nature to get that close to us.
That's very odd, yeah.
And so we started, trying to take pictures of it, and we couldn't get it to show up in any of our photos.
Oh, wow.
Until finally I got within 5 feet of it with my Polaroid and took a photo, and only the eyes showed up.
Oh, that is bizarre. I'd love to see this photo. It was a solid, animal, right?
It was a solid animal, yeah. And it was...
Obviously, it could be the ghost of a fox, but, you're saying you saw a solid animal.
Yeah, we saw a solid animal, and, again, there were 3 of us. And, so we, just for kicks, started trying to take pictures of it, and, couldn't get any of the cameras to work, couldn't get the video cameras to pick it up. And we turned the car around, got the headlights shining on it, and I got within 5 feet of it and snapped a photo with the Polaroid and got its eyes.
That's bizarre.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I had something similar regarding with EVPs. It was a case we did last year, 2 years ago, up in Brockton, and it was small private residence, so it was only Sean and I that went on this case. But we were all in the living room. We were actually talking with the clients. We set up the living room kind of as a base of operations. And we had a few things happen during the night. And we were just about ready to start packing up. And everybody in the room, it was myself, Sean, the client, her husband, and our son. And we all heard a little girl, clear as day, laughing in the corner of the room. Going through the evidence afterwards, what we all heard as a laugh sounds like a cat crying and meowing. We've had it happen the other way around, where the recording's a lot clearer than what you hear, but never have I had it where it changed like that to something totally different.
Those are both bizarre situations. Yeah. And yet technology failed us.
Mm-hmm.
So my next question to both of you is going to be this. Do you feel that the legitimate researchers have outgrown the technology that's currently in existence? Ben?
It depends on the technology that we're talking about. I feel like there's a lot of people who think they understand what they're using, yet don't. And a great example is, up to date, I would say 90% of people I've ever asked this question to don't know what even the word stands for, and it plays into the technology itself. But I'll ask them, okay, well, what does Lux stand for, and where does it come into play with what we do as paranormal researchers? And most people are, forthright, and they're like, I don't even know what that word is. And I've even worked with professional cameramen, right, that are holding $10,000 cameras on their shoulders, and they didn't even know. Lux is the kind of the value, the metric, if you will, for the value of amount of light in an area.
Right.
So 0 would be absolute pitch darkness, and then, it goes on up from there. But the equipment that we're using has to be able to be rated a certain lux value, so that way it can natively, right, be able to see in pitch black or a certain light value. So, you have your cameras that can work in dim lights, dim light settings, cameras that can work in no light settings. So when it comes to technology, I feel like there's areas that we have outgrown. But then again, there are areas that we haven't. I think in many ways we've kind of outgrown 1D, one-dimensional photography, where I think that we need to evolve to is capitalizing and maybe doing more R&D on 3D technology with photography, and then maybe even somehow blending it in with infrared and night vision, thermal imaging, things like that. But in order for us to outgrow most of our other technology, we really need to understand it better. 99% of researchers out there don't seem to even understand how their digital audio recorders work. And a colleague of mine summed it up really, really well once. He explained that you could have a digital audio recorder sitting sitting somewhere, and a cricket could be nearby and rub its legs and make its cricket noise. And what happens is, if that just particular sound wave that came off that cricket, was on the edge of the frequency spectrum that response spectrum for that digital audio recorder, the digital audio recorder is going to grab it, it's going to modulate it, and it's going to modify it and convert it into something that the digital audio recorder can put back out for us to audibly hear in the human ear. So a cricket noise, that little high-pitched noise that we're all familiar with, could turn into sounding like an EVP because of the way this Olympus or Sony or whatever digital audio recorder modulated it on the fringe or edge of that precipice of the frequency range that it was capable of doing, therefore giving us a false positive. So there could be potential of a lot of false positives that we've been chasing wild gooses on, and they're not really even legitimate.
Right. I agree.
So I just think that's where we're at with technology. We still have to understand what we have out there and utilize it and capitalize on that before we can truly outgrow it.
Okay. Brian, same question. Do you believe that the legitimate researchers have outgrown the technology that's available?
I love that you asked this question, because I don't think we've covered this any time I've been on. And to Ben's point with the lux meter, with the knowing what lux is, we actually have a lux meter that we use during baselines to find out just how dark things are.
That's awesome.
If for no other reason than it makes a reference point in the case report. But technology is a little interesting subject. I went to a vocational high school, and I actually studied electronics there. So I had a little bit different look at technology. I know it needs to be tested. So what we do whenever the next big thing comes out, the state of the art and everything, everybody, all the para fans are looking for the big flashy equipment and the thermal imaging cameras, which, for the record, are $5,000 and most of us, or more, and are out of most of our price ranges.
Yeah.
But everybody looks for the flashy. Everybody looks for the state of the art. But let me ask this: how do you go about debunking a picture somebody took 20 years ago with a 35 millimeter? You can't do it with the digital. You cannot do it accurately enough with a digital. So we actually have a 35 millimeter in the kit. It's almost retired, but if we ever get something,
right. I still have my Polaroid in my gear kit. So.
You gotta compare. You can't do apples to apples. Mm-hmm. You can't do apples to oranges. At the very least, you gotta go peach to nectarine. And I know I'm sounding a little fruity now. But as far as outgrowing the technology, to really get a handle on it, you got to test your technology. Whatever you choose to use, you got to test it. You got to know how to use it, as Ben was saying, to the point where, case in point, I was totally against any kind of spirit communication device, electronic-wise. Mm-hmm. Most commonly, the Ovilus. I was convinced they were a technological version of the Magic 8-Ball. It had voice recognition, this, that, the other, whatever. Until I got my hands on one really cheap from a couple friends of mine that were actually getting out of the field. So I bought it, and Sean and I literally took it apart piece by piece, analyzed the whole thing, put it back together. It still worked. Hey, I went to electronics. I know how to work a circuit board. Put it back together. Knew that there was no possibility of it having enough memory to do what it's been reported to do. And we tested it under very controlled circumstances, to the point where we made a redneck Faraday cage out of a spaghetti pot, put it over it, mm-hmm. tested it to the nines, and wound up after about 6 or 8 months convinced that it was usable, and we took it on a case. The first case it was on, we knew that there was history of the building having 3 fires, one of which 14 people died in. And we started getting hits. We were all on the same page of we would not feed it any information. We would ask vague, just like an EVP session, ask vague questions, see what happens. First question, do you know why we're here? Do you know why you're here? And we hear hot, fire, you help. During the course of the night, the box actually called me an asshole. Oh, can I say that? Sorry, but hey, it's a quote.
I shall spank you later.
Thank God for that 2-second delay, right? But I actually made notes while Ben was talking, but the Ovilus and even certain night vision equipment, we test it. We make sure we know what we're dealing with. EMF meters, every one is different. You got to know what they're calibrated to. We have one digital EMF meter that it would only display in bars. We didn't know what the bars meant, so we had to calibrate that off of one of our analog ones to know what each bar's value was in milligauss and millivolts. So I don't think we've really outgrown the technology. And again, my team, by the time we're actually putting our technology into service, it's at least a year old. So I think
I would say amen on that. I mean, that's
I think the pricing end of it comes into play, because you got to wait till the new price wears off, and then you got to test it. You got to make sure it's really going to do what you need it to do. I also shy away from stuff that's made strictly for the paranormal. Again, because are we limiting ourselves too much? That, and let's face it, there's some shady businessmen out there that'll just be out to make a buck. They'll do the P.T. Barnum routine, suck a bone every minute. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that 90% of us, even the reputable investigators like ourselves, we don't get all drooly and need a bid when we see a new flashy piece of equipment. Go, "Ooh, I want that. It's made for us." Oh, wait a minute. What'll it do? Oh, it'll tell you how many ghosts are in the area and when and what they want. Yeah, that's a hoax. We gotta have the sense to know what technology does, and then how to deploy it correctly, and then also analyze it. And that's where I think a lot of people fall the shortest, is interpreting it. Example being with audio recording. You don't have the aid of visual like you do with a video camera, where you have moving picture and real-time audio. You just have the audio. So what you gotta do, what any investigator has to do their due diligence, is run it through audio analysis software. Don't make changes to it. Just run it through, look at a sine wave, see what's going on. Have something that measures frequency and pitch and duration. Something where you can pull out background noise if you have to. Save an original, but clean up a copy. And at the same time, if you get something you're just really not sure of, or you don't know, and before you jump to that conclusion, try to find an example of it. There was a case Doug will remember. We were out on the other side of my hometown here, investigating a barn and a house, and we thought we heard cannon fire. So what I wound up doing is I wound up going online, finding a WAV file of somebody recording a Revolutionary War reenactment and firing off the cannons. Pulled that audio, ran that through the gold wave, along with the clip that I had of our recording. It matched identical. A Revolutionary era cannon, which I went a step further and checked it against a Civil War era cannon, they sound different. But the key is they display a very different waveform. And that's what you really need to really match something, a known to an unknown. You need that visual. And the good audio software for analysis, a lot of people just rush to judgment and go, oh, we didn't hear this at the time, it must be an EVP, and they blast the internet with it.
Well, okay, with that, the dictionary definition of EVP, electronic voice phenomena, and I'll even take it a step further and call it electronic audio anomaly phenomenon, because it's not always a voice.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to get me on that loophole.
Is something that you don't audibly hear at the time that it was recorded, yet it is there in the recording. Am I wrong in this, gentlemen?
Nope.
So then, Brian, what exactly are you trying to say then with, because you knew I was going to call you on this. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on what you were saying there with the EVP?
As far as having the visual to back it up, there's times where you just miss seeing something, you miss hearing something, and just because you didn't hear it doesn't mean it's an EVP or an EAP. It could just have been a disembodied sound. It could have been there and you just didn't hear it. And the reason I say that is, on another case, we had thought we picked up the sound of a woman crying. But it turns out the microphone on our recorders was so sensitive it was picking up an ambulance about 4 or 5 blocks away.
Oh, wow.
So there's the aspect of, we go back to technology again, of the technology is actually a little bit sharper than us sometimes.
Well, but isn't that why you tag the...
We never heard it with our own 2 ears. We never heard it with our own 2 ears.
Okay.
The microphone was sensitive enough to just barely pick it up, to the point where we had like a Class C EVP of someone crying. So we had to go back and analyze it, raise the volume and whatnot. But that sound mapping is what I'm talking about, is that extra step that often gets overlooked of how do you identify if it's not a voice, if it's just a sound, how do you match the sound? And that's where sound mapping through audio analysis can come in handy. That's where I was going with that.
Okay.
Voices are a little bit easier because you know the human vocal range has a set point and a set end. If you're hearing words and then the frequency shows that it's up in the thousands as opposed to 20 to 200, which is a typical male voice, but if you're up into the kilohertz and it's sounding like a male voice, that's not a natural human voice. That's a definite sign of an EVP. That's where I was going with that. Having something to tell you what you're actually hearing.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we've reached the point in our show that we like to call the shameless plugging segment. Time flies when you're having fun. It's already been an hour. And Doug Doesn't seem like it, doesn't feel like it, but it's already been an hour. So this is your opportunity to shamelessly self-promote yourselves, your websites, any public appearances going on, how people can get in contact with you if they so choose or if you so choose. We'll start with Ben. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So best way to reach out to ASEP is visit us on ASEP's Facebook page, which is facebook.com/ASEPORG. We're monitoring that all the time. You can contact us through that. But we do have a website. It's currently, I'm redesigning it with the help of a good friend and supporter of this field of research. So I'm going to probably avoid the website as an opportunity to get in touch with us. Even our Facebook page has that link. So I would just right now direct people to our Facebook page, and I'm constantly putting up content on there that is either, talking about topics similar to what we talked about, as well as challenging thought process and even down to just ethics of how we do things. So definitely visit our Facebook page and click like.
Very cool. Brian, same question.
All right. We do have our website, www.senepir.com. We also have a Facebook page, Facebook/Senepir, SENEPIR. Or you can email us directly at senepir@gmail.com. And we cover basically if you drew a circle from Mystic, Connecticut, through Worcester, up into the lower portion of Maine, that's our primary coverage area.
Okay.
And I think our next public appearance is going to be what's called Crazy Days in Middleborough here. It's a little small hick town street fair. That's going to be August 7th and 8th from 10 to 5 each day. They basically close down the center of town, and it's one of the oldest street fairs in the country, and going to be our first year doing it this year. So,
very
cool.
cool.
Hearing people.
Very cool. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for being guests on the show tonight. I think for our very first roundtable discussion, I think tonight was a success. We have to take our bottom of the hour break, but stay on the line so we can say our proper goodbyes. When we come back, folks, more shenanigans with me and Doug. So stay tuned. You've been listening to Parascope Uncensored on the Hazy Radio Network. We will be right back.
More Parascope Uncensored after this. And now, back to Parascope Uncensored on the Hazy Radio Network.
44 minutes past the hour here on Parascope Uncensored on the Hazy Radio Network. I'm your host, Clarissa Vasquez. Riding shotgun tonight is my lovely twin brother, Mr. Doug Engler.
Good evening, everyone.
What a great time we had with our very first roundtable discussion.
This went smoothly. I think it went better than either of us thought it could have gone. We had two very knowledgeable people, different backgrounds, different sides of the country, but it just goes to show you a lot of the unity within the paranormal community, where you have somebody from the East Coast and somebody from the West Coast, and a lot of what they said coincided with each other. A lot of similar thoughts, and I don't know if they've talked to each other before tonight or not.
No, they haven't.
I don't think so.
They hadn't met prior to tonight. But I know that both of them right now are going and liking each other's Facebook pages. Cyberspace just lit up.
And, we were talking off the air that maybe next time we do this, we should try to run it a little longer.
Yeah,
we ran a little over the hour mark because, you ask a question, and Ben had said this off the air. This subject, you can't just give quick answers to when you're talking about the paranormal. You ask somebody, what's your thought on EVP, and if you want a quick answer, you're got to find somebody who doesn't know much about EVPs.
Right.
Because anybody who's been in the field for a while, you're going to get a 2, 3, 4, 5 minute long explanation on EVPs and I found that this happens, and when you use this recorder, this is what you can expect, and stuff of that nature. And you can't just get the quick answer of, what do you think of BBT? So they record voices. Next question.
Right.
You're not going to get that with this field, especially when you have experts or people who have a lot of experience, 10 plus years at least experience of doing this. You're not going to get the quick answers, and a roundtable format, it's going to be one question going to 2, 3, 4 people. That's going to take 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and you're like, oh, we still have to get to the hard questions, and we didn't get to them tonight because I know that, there's always questions that arise, and it's always good to get different people's opinions on the same thing. We were able to touch on the orbs and, the equipment stuff, and, what's your opinion on the equipment? Do you think that today's investigators have outgrown the equipment, or do you think that the world of the paranormal is just changing in front of our eyes, and we just don't have the knowledge or the knowledge to create the technology needed to get the substantial evidence which we're going after?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think for the ghost hunters, the technology is on par and useful. I think for the legitimate researchers, such as Ben and Brian and you and myself, and the people that are serious about finding the answers, not the people that are just looking for ghosts, but the people that are serious about the research. I think that we have surpassed the technology that we need. I think more is needed. And Ben turned me on to a new piece of equipment that is coming soon. And I've got goosebumps. Not only does it appear to be useful and scientific, but it's sexy too. So I'm excited.
Cool. Once I'll have to have you send me a link on Facebook or something, and I'll have internet again on Sunday so I can check that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of computers, I just downloaded the one beside me. But it's been a fun night. We said going before the start of the show, we were hoping things would go smoothly. Didn't know if there would be like an all-out brawl, East Coast versus West Coast. This didn't turn into a rap battle, so.
Yeah, we weren't 100% sure how this was going to go. And it could have gone either way. And I don't know about you, Doug, but I'm happy it went the way it went.
Oh, so am I. This was so much fun. And I missed doing the roundtables because, we talked in the first part of the show about the old network we were a part of. And we were a part of roundtables on a regular basis on the old network. Uh-huh. And, we really haven't done that much.
Yeah, no, we haven't done any roundtables since we've been on the Hazy network. And it'll be 2 years this August that Parascope has been on Hazy. So, it's been a long time, and it felt good for me personally to be able to, stand up, proverbially, with my peers and say, I agree with you on this, but here's where I disagree with you on it, and here's why. And and I was okay with, on the orb conversation, I was okay with going against the grain. Being the one that went, okay, that's fine and dandy, but here's my take on it and here's why. I was okay with being the odd man out because I'm a chick. But, I was okay with that. And I've got a lot of respect for Ben and Brian both. And I think it was a great conversation. I can't wait to have them back on the show to do another roundtable.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, but big news on the network front. We've got another new show coming to the Friday night lineup, starting next Friday at, what time is that show going to start?
Oh, about that time.
Yeah, it's going to be on before us, right before us. And, of course, I got rid of the page that it was on. And I don't even remember the name of the new show. Let me pull up the information again. It's like
it was
Fat Girl
Chew
Radio.
the Fat.
Oh, Chew the Fat. That's right. Chew the Fat Radio with Belle Salisbury, Gina Wedlake, Bonnie Jean, Christina Nelson, and Solana Sherry. Friday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. So they're going to be on directly before us for the 2 hours directly before Parascope Uncensored. Then from 9 to 11, of course, is Parascope Uncensored. And then from 11 to 1 is Paradigm Shift with Dave and Trish. And tonight on Paradigm Shift, they're going to have Tim R. Schwartz. He's the author of America's Strange and Supernatural History. And I think they tried to have him on a couple weeks ago, but something happened and he wasn't able to be on the show, and so I think this is his reschedule. Because I think I remember somebody saying, "May the Schwartz be with you."
Yeah.
So I think that's the same Tim Schwartz that they tried to have on a couple of weeks ago, I think. Brian just posted the coolest thing on Facebook. Well, actually, I don't know if he just posted it. No, he posted it an hour ago. It's one of those memes on Facebook. It says, "You know you're a ghost hunter when an abandoned building with strange noises and spooky shadows is where you want to be on a Saturday night." That's my idea of a hot date.
Oh, heck yeah. And speaking of programs, coming up this Sunday on Animazing Radio, we're going to have voice actress Caitlin French is going to be joining us. She's been doing voice acting since about 2012, 2013, and the only role that sticks into my head right now, because I don't have the bio pulled up in front of me, she does the voice of Hannah in Girls und Panzer, which was a show that our friend Gavin got me introduced to, and I fell in love with.
Yeah, you got Jacob into that show.
I mean, high school girls in tanks blowing stuff up. It doesn't get much cooler than that.
Yeah, what 14-year-old wouldn't love that? Coming up on Enlightened Circle Radio Tuesday night is Mandy Mitchell, the Hedge Witch. She's the author of Hedge Witch Book of Days. She's going to be on Mandy Mitchell is going to be on with Kristen next Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, tonight is the last Periscope for 4 weeks. So we will be back on August something or other. I got to look it up now. We'll be back on August 7th. So we're taking the entire month of July off. Doug and I are both, we're going to unplug. So no social media, no radio, no public appearances. I've canceled all of my public appearances for the summer. And we're taking a hard-earned and long-awaited break. So.
Well, we do look forward to coming back on Friday, August 7th, and I know, Clarissa, you'll be, once you get back to the electronic world, you'll be working your tail off, getting guests lined up again. And
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I'll probably have August booked before I go on vacation. I hope.
and you know me, I'm on the AZR front, I seem to be able to track down a few people who are interested. So
yeah. So it's all good. Well, there will be no shortage of guests coming up here on the Hazy Radio Network. And sorry, I'm just a teeny bit distracted by chat. Brian says, chewing fat, I'm there, I'll bring the bacon.
Nice.
So I think he was talking about Chew the Fat Radio with Belle and Jeannie and crew.
And that's Belle's return to the network. Yep. Belle was on the network before.
Yep, Belle was on the network before, and she left a couple years ago, and now she's back.
Well, welcome back to the network and the family, Belle. We're happy that you're coming back, and look forward to the new show. And
absolutely.
And I know Zita's getting things worked out and set up. That hopefully within the next few weeks she'll be back around more often, and it'll be great to have Miss Z back on the scene as well.
Yeah. Don't know if she's going to bring her shows back or not. She's kind of enjoying her independence. So, if she does, great. If not, that's okay too.
Definitely. So, lots of good stuff to look forward to. Like we said, this Sunday, Caitlin French on Animazing Radio. And then Animazing Radio goes on hiatus for the month of July as well.
Yep. And Enlightened Circle is also going on hiatus. See, when Doug and I unplug, the other shows don't get to run either. But that's okay. Like I said, we've had some things come up within our family, and gotta put family first, and gotta take care of number one. And that's exactly what we're doing. So, but we'll be back in a month. We'll be recharged, refreshed, and ready to go.
Definitely. And it's just about time. I think we got to switch over.
Yeah, it's almost time for us to sign off. We got a minute and a half left. So Doug, enjoy your summer.
You as well. I want to wish everybody out there listening a happy and safe 4th of July.
Yes.
We won't have another Parascope before then, so stay safe. If you're going to celebrate responsibly. Please don't drink and drive. Be safe around the fireworks. Enjoy the time with family and friends. And life is precious. Make sure you make the most of it, but do it in a safe manner that you're not going to harm yourself or others.
Absolutely. And for sure, have a safe and happy 4th of July. Remember what the holiday is all about. Again, kudos to our Supreme Court for their historic ruling today. And, to all of the hopeful couples that it impacts, congratulations. I do perform wedding ceremonies for anybody that is interested. So just a little food for thought there. For Doug, Brandon, Kristen, Zita, and myself, along with the Biker and the Witch and Center for Paranormal, have a safe and happy summer, everyone. Stay spooky. We'll see you in August. This has been Parascope Uncensored on the Hazy Radio Network.